They say a sacred life is about giving your all to others. This paradise might fall right out of your hands. No matter what the cost, you can always find the value. You might walk away feeling a little bit defeated, but that's just because you're dedicated. So that was the chorus to my new song, Dedicated. Dedicated is an interesting song for me. So I'm a Rotarian, and the Rotary Club is an interesting group. It's dynamic. It is a lot different than it used to be once upon a time. But I've been a Rotarian for 11 years now. And I started off when I was in San Diego, and then I continued when I was in Denver, and now I'm here in the Deerfield Valley in Vermont, and I'm still a Rotarian. I'm still active in the Rotary Club, and you know the organizations that I've been a part of have done amazing work, both all in San Diego and Denver, and here in the Deerfield Valley. When I was in Denver, I started getting more and more involved. I was asked to be a part of the marketing committee, and then eventually to lead a marketing committee, and then eventually to take on the role of president of the club, which was an interesting job to say the least. And you know, it's a year-long commitment in Denver it's technically it's a three-year-long commitment. Three-year-long commitment. And it's 3 years long because you have your president-elect year, the year before you're president. You have your year as president, and then you have your year as the immediate past president to kind of offer some institutional knowledge and engagement in the club in that way. And you know, I took it very seriously, and I loved what I did there. I loved what I got to accomplish there. It was a really, really cool place, and I was able to do a lot with it. And the woman who took over as president after my term was up was a woman named Lisa, and she is a rock star. She's amazing, and I was super stoked to have her take over as the president of the club after me, because she's on fire, and she was amazingly dedicated to Rotary and to Denver itself, right, into the community that we were serving. And so I thought it was a perfect fit. And I was there as the immediate past president. I was able to I stayed on the board. I was able to offer that kind of institutional knowledge for the last year for that transition. And then I moved on. And because at this point I was already living here in Vermont. And when when her year was up, so at this point I'd been living in Vermont for about a year, and the last responsibility that I had as the immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Denver was to plan and put together her continuation of leadership ceremony. So the continuation of leadership it's basically a party. It's a ceremony that recognizes and honors the person who is who just completed their year as president. One of the former presidents of our club used to say that, you know, you once a peacock, now a feather duster, and the continuation of leadership is your way of celebrating turning into a feather duster, right? And so it was a really cool. It's always a really cool party. It's a really cool experience. Mine was amazing. It was awesome to be a part of it. It was very honoring to be recognized in that way. So it was really cool, and I was excited to put hers on and to put hers together. And so I planned it all out. I got it all ready, and I was ready to roll. And then, but the timing of it all was precarious for me, because I was in the middle of a short little tour regionally here. I was in Burlington, here in the Valley, in Boston, a couple other places, and then back here in the Valley for a 4th of July thing. And but I had one day off, and it happened to be that day of the ceremony. And so I was playing in Boston the night before on Wednesday, and my plan was to drive from Burlington to Boston, sleep in the airport in Boston before the 6 a.m. flight, fly to Denver, get there at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, get to where I needed to go to get all the things that I needed to get done to get ready for her party, and then do the party, go back to the airport, take a red eye back to Boston for my show that night in Boston, that Friday night in Boston. I had it all planned out, but obviously very little room for error in this whole thing. And so I but I was on fire. I was ready to roll. I was ready to do it. Unfortunately, the weather had other ideas in mind for me, and it did not end up working out that way because it was raining constantly throughout the country. Flights were being delayed, canceled all over the country. And of course, I tried calling American and JetBlue to say, hey, listen, what's the deal? Do you have any sense of, whether or not I'm going to be able to get out of there or what's happening with the weather? And of course, they were no help. No, not necessarily any shade on American or JetBlue. It's just that there's no way for them to tell. There's no way for them to know, right? And so I kind of said, okay, well, I went back and forth on it. My timeline was so tight that I couldn't risk not being back for the rest of this work that I had that I was doing. And so unfortunately I finally waited till the last possible minute. I finally decided I can't go. It's not going to be responsible for me to go because I have the commitments that I have here and to the shows that I'm doing and whatnot. And so I had to stay. And it broke my heart, but I did it, and I made a decision, and I reached out to kind of the woman who was a pretty solid right hand for me when I was kind of getting ready for all this, and basically said, hey, Kristen, this is what's going on. I'm not going to be able to make it. Are you able to kind of lead the charge for me if I kind of write out the script and do the whole thing? So she said, yes, absolutely. She went and got all the gifts for that I was planning on getting, whole 9 yards, and she killed it. It was amazing. But I needed to do something too. I needed to be able to contribute in some way because I was so excited to be a part of this and so excited to put this on for. So I needed it, and I knew that I needed to do something. So I went to a hotel room in Burlington, and I sat down and I wrote this song. I wrote the song Dedicated, and it was for Lisa Goulias, who was the president of the Rotary Club of Denver for the 2021-2022 year, right? 21-22 year. No, 22-23 year. 22-23 year, because the 21-22 year is mine. The 22-23 year. So I wrote the song Dedicated for her, and I sat down and I started thinking about all the things about Lisa, and I wanted it to be something that was specific to her, that was focused on her, but didn't necessarily, that wasn't like, I'm not even going to try and make something that is going to sound weird, but I wanted it to be something that was specific to her, but also kind of universal, right? Also something that people could listen to and kind of say, hey, I see my mom in that. I see my coach in that. I see my old boss in that. I see my mentor in that, right? And so I wanted it to be something that was a little bit more broad because it's more special that way, for me anyway. That's what it always seemed like to me. And so I kind of sat down and I said, okay, what are the attributes of Lisa that I can kind of use to write this song? And Dedicated is the thing that kept coming to mind. And so I kind of went back and started thinking back on all of our conversations and the countless meetings that we had throughout this, conversations, phone calls, random meetings and whatnot that she and I had along the way. And the song kind of started to flow because, this is one of those things that when you take on that presidency role of a service organization, especially as one as large, relatively speaking, as the Rotary Club of Denver, you don't know what you're getting into, right? You think you do, but you really find out pretty quickly that you have absolutely no idea. And so you got to figure it all out for yourself, right? But I looked up some kind of, when I was thinking about the chorus of it, because the verses, all this to say that the verses were very specific to our conversations, right? You didn't know what you were getting into. Then again, no one really does, right? But you did it, right? You picked it up and you ran with it, and now it's time you get to kind of kick your feet up a little bit, and so it was very, very specific to that. But again, able to be universal enough to kind of be focused on, see your mentor and see your coach and what have you. But then for the chorus, I wanted it to be a kind of a big idea and something that was something that really spoke to the concept of people who dedicate themselves to service, right? And that's where this idea that, you know, a sacred life is about giving yourself to others, because I think it's a Hindu phrase, if I remember correctly, that I found that basically that said just that, right? That was that the I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something to the effect of, you know, living a sacred life is living for others. And it occurred to me that people that dedicate themselves to service organizations, especially in roles like the presidency of that organization, the people that do that are giving themselves up to other people for the time that they're leading that organization, right? And so, you know, and then talking about this paradise that you've built for yourself could fall right out of your hands. You never know, because you're spending so much time focusing yourself on other people, you know. But no matter what it costs you, you'll always know that there's value in it. You'll always know that whatever you give is worth something. But even if you might walk away feeling a little faded, feeling a little tired, you know, you're gonna love it, and you're gonna to feel it on the inside because you're dedicated. And so that's a pretty big concept when it comes down to it, because, you know, again, it's trying to encapsulate the concept of service and of serving others, you know, in such a way that it makes sense, that it kind of describes the feeling of it, and that's what I came back with, and what it landed with me really well, because I mean, that's how I felt when I was there, when I took on that role. That, you know, I mean, I felt like I was just giving and giving and giving, and, you know, ask any mom and they'll tell you that you give everything of yourself, and you're probably not appreciated as much as you would love to be, or as much as maybe you think that you should be. And, you know, ask any mom, ask any teacher, you know, the people that do dedicate themselves to the service of other people, and you hear all the time that, you know, I dedicate, like, this is what I live for, this is who I am, and this is who I live for. And, you know, and you're never going to be appreciated for everything that you put in, but you can at least walk away knowing that you gave it everything that you did. And that's very much what this song is about. And so that is Dedicated. That's the story behind Dedicated. The groove behind it is a fun one, and I love playing it. And I love the way that the recorded version came out. So, you know, definitely go on over to, you know, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, wherever, and check out the streaming version of it, because it's really cool the way that the drums play through, and the way that the bass plays through, and where the guitars come in, the organ, and everything like that. I'm really happy with the way that it came out. Maybe I'll do a whole video on how I handled all the production of it, but definitely I think it's worth checking out. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and I'd love to hear what you dedicate yourself to. So if there's something specific that you can think of that keeps you feeling like you're living a sacred life, then drop it in the comments and let me know, because I'd love to hear it. All right, guys, cheers.